How do you keep from abruptly ending a presentation? We've all been there. Someone is talking, presenting, perhaps going through data, going through slides. Maybe they're okay, maybe they're pretty good, and all of a sudden, that's it. Any questions? And it's just like this screeching stop. It's like a car going down the highway 70, 80 miles an hour that just runs out of gas. It's too abrupt. And the final impression you have from the speaker is, wow, they wanted to get the heck out of here. They were nervous. They wanted to get off the stage. They wanted to sit down. And it leaves a bad taste in the mouth. Now, so many of us have bought into this belief where we got to be concise. We got to be concise. Say everything and shut up and sit down. Well, that's not really true. Of course, it's true that you don't want to go on and on and on and bore people. But the idea of simply being concise and sitting down the second you're done, no, that is not what great communicators do. When you've gone through your ideas, when you've gone through your messages, when you've gone through the last slide, that's not the time to stop. Because remember, your goal is not simply putting out information to the world. If your goal were to put out information to the world and that's it, well, you could create a Wikipedia page. You could create an email and email it to everyone. If it's just about facts, if it's just about numbers, bullet points, don't show up to speak. Just email people, text. Text is a great way of getting information out, but that's not really what a presentation is. A presentation is an opportunity for you to really get people to understand what's important on this issue. It's a way for people to understand what you think is important, what you think they need to know, and what you think they should act upon to help them, to help their business, to help their career, to help their life, to help their community. That's what presentations are about. Even if it's a simple Monday morning staff meeting on why we need to keep the kitchen clean, you're typically speaking to influence people to take some kind of action or to stop an action, like leaving dirty dishes in the sink. All communication is like that. So it's never simply a matter of presenting fact after fact after fact in the most concise way and sitting down. First of all, when you do finish a presentation, never simply stop and say, that's it, any questions? That is way too abrupt. It's not interesting. It doesn't give people a sense of closure. It doesn't help them really reflect upon what was most important in your presentation. And it just seems like you're in a big, big, big hurry to get out of here. You don't want that. You're also not giving them time to think of questions quite often. So when you're coming towards the end of a presentation, you want to start signaling to your audience. And you don't have to say in conclusion, but you can say, and that's why one of the biggest takeaways I hope you get from today is, and then state your biggest point. You can use different language, but something that lets people know that you've already said this point, but you're re-emphasizing it, you're restating it because it is so important. You want people to know it and to take it away. So feel free to do that. Also, it's great to end with one other tiny little story. It doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be humorous. But if you can give one last example, one short story that's not humorous, it's not a starfish story or a generic motivational story, but it's a story about how you actually helped a client, customer, colleague talk to another associate about the similar issue, where the point of the story is instantly obvious to your audience. That's a great way of ending. When you finish, you want to finish with confidence. You want to finish with poise, and you want to summarize your main point. Do it, stop, look at the audience just for a second or two. Take a step back if you're standing. Then you can say, and I'm happy to take questions now if you have them. That shows confidence. That shows poise. That is how professional communicators, professional speakers end their presentation. Even then, you're not done. What you want to do is give people a moment to think. So you can say, and now I'll take questions. Pause for a second. Don't look like, nobody has questions, nobody cares. Did I do something wrong? Don't do that. Instead, look confident, relaxed, poised. You just said, I'm happy to take questions now. No one says anything or hands don't go up right away. Then you can say, while you're taking a moment to reflect on this, one of the most common questions I do get on this topic is, and then ask yourself the question and answer it. What you're doing there is priming the pump. You're giving people a chance to think for a moment, reflect, and also nobody really wants to be first. Now you're first. So going second is much easier. So you're making it easier for your audience to engage you. The key in both situations, the slight pause. When you finish your presentation, you're pausing and you're not looking down, shuffling away, gathering your papers. You're just smiling and looking at people. Yeah, not for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, for 2 seconds. Very few people do this. When you do this, your audience will perceive you as supremely comfortable, confident, authoritative. They won't really know why. They're not going to go home and tell their spouse or their other significant friends, family, and say, wow, I saw this great speaker today who paused for 2 seconds at the end of the speech. It's not that. This is a teeny, tiny, subtle thing that's going to hit people in the gut without them knowing really what you're doing. But yet there's nothing nefarious going on. You're not overtly manipulating people for evil. It's just a subtle little thing that is going to make you come across more comfortable, confident, and relaxed. Now, you're answering questions. Let's assume you've got a couple of questions. Don't make the common mistake of saying, okay, we're out of time, no more questions, bye. You want to have a strong sense of when you need to get off the stage or sit down or get out of the meeting room and make judgments accordingly. So let's say you had 20 minutes for the presentation and you've now been answering questions for 7 minutes, but you know you started at 10, someone else is going to speak at 10:30. You basically have a half-hour period. What I would recommend is you really do finish your presentation in 20 minutes. You take questions for 7 minutes or so. When you've answered a question and you feel like this is a good stopping part, then you don't just say that's it. Then you go into one more conclusion where you really sum up your key point using different words. You're not saying, well, as I said earlier, or apologies for repeating myself. No, you're not doing that. You're using different words, maybe a different example, summarizing your key point. And when you're done, stop, smile, and project the image that, hey, I nailed it. Not in an arrogant or cocky way, but just project that you're happy with how things have gone. There's a crowd psychology. If the audience sees that you're happy and that you perceive this presentation went well, they will also think it went well. So many speakers finish and maybe it was pretty good, but they kind of, they're looking down and shuffling away quickly. They're sending a signal of, wow, I didn't do a very good job there. At some level, the audience thinks, well, you're smart. If you think this presentation didn't go very well, I guess it didn't. So you want to convey the sense that your presentation went very well. Remember, people are looking at you. They're judging you, not just when you're speaking, but from the second you stand up or from the second they see you on screen, if it's an online presentation, until not just when you stop talking, but when they can no longer see you. So as you're walking away from the lectern or you're walking back to your chair to sit down, people are looking at you. So you want to convey confidence, relaxation, and authority every step of the way. And that is how you end a presentation without being too abrupt. Hi, I'm TJ Walker. Thanks so much for joining me. We are live today. This is the TJ Walker Success Channel. We're doing something a little bit new here. We typically go live every single day, 9 to noon, and Eastern time, where I answer your questions about public speaking, communication skills, one-on-one communication, speaking to the media. Today, we're simulcasting on StreamYard through YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, a lot of other places. Plus, we have a separate stream going with our friends on TikTok. And friends on TikTok, we're trying to get you into our main StreamYard so that we can have you on live and have an actual conversation. So, looking forward to that. We don't have that yet. Now, what we do here every day is give you an opportunity to ask questions about communication skills, be a part of a debate. You may differ with something I say. You may think I'm doing something awful. Some of you hate the way I use my hands. It's okay. You can also come on and give a pitch. You can give a presentation and get feedback from me and other members of the community. You can, if you like, send me, I think you can do it in the private chat, send me a link and I can look at your video and share it with the community and we can dissect it here. But I'm always happy to have people come right on and do a demo right now, do a practice. You're trying to figure out the right pitch for your startup and you want to practice it right here in a low risk, easy threshold way. You can do it right here. My colleague Ben is with us and John is with us. My good friend John Steen. So signal my biggest point. I have to go to the bathroom. That gets their attention. Okay. There's always a place for humor. I'm not sure I would use that one very often, but it could in fact work. We've posted the link to StreamYard today. So if you do want to come on live and talk to me and show your face and have your voice, you can do so. You don't have to. You can simply watch, whether it is on TikTok, whether it is on YouTube, Facebook, any other platform. So I'm so happy to be here today. Today is a slightly different schedule. We're going to go from 9 a.m., which we started, to about 9:45 today. I then have to take a break because we're doing a special live session for my Udemy online students. So if you're one of my students on the Udemy platform, we'll be broadcasting that right into the Udemy Facebook page. We'll be then coming back right here on all these major platforms at 10:45 Eastern today. I'll be doing really two things. I will be doing short form and long form videos about communication skills, and I'll be taking your questions. So it's fairly simple and straightforward. We're focused. We're not trying to help you pick right stocks or to tell you what the perfect diet is or how to get Ozempic. It's really very focused on communication skills and specifically how you can be more successful in life by building your communication skills and by building your confidence in your communication skills. So I want to thank so many friends joining us live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those places. And we already have about 50 or so who've joined us on TikTok. Now, TikTok, I'm doing just from a cell phone. So I apologize in advance. It's a little harder to see your questions and comments. So if you want to make sure I get it or you want to come on live, then I would invite you to come on over to our YouTube channel where you can see we've posted the link to StreamYard and you can come right on in and join us on screen and ask questions, or you can post questions as well. But let me give a quick hello to several folks, and I see Mountain Town Magazine has joined us. I see Manuel has joined us. Ireland, Harris, Michael. So a lot of people, I'm having a little bit of difficulty scrolling on the cell phone as we do this because we don't have you integrated in our StreamYard app. But Sonia is with us. Dan, hi, Dan. Hi, Frank, Sherry, Zach. Michael is with us. Free comment. Carlos has joined. Joe, Tammy, so many great folks from all over the world have joined us from TikTok. And here's a question. Who are 3 or 4 examples of people you've helped on TikTok? Well, Steve, I work with a lot of different clients all over the world, and most of them traditionally are executives at companies because they have the budgets to hire me for a day of training for public speaking training, presentation skills training. So most of them are trying to build their communication skills in the corporate world, or they're running for prime minister, or they're running for president or senate. So TikTok may be a component of what they're doing. They may have their speeches chopped down into it. As far as a 23-year-old who has 20 million followers on TikTok and is killing it on TikTok, that's not really my market. And I am not an expert on how to make videos go viral. I have a lot more views than the average person on social media, because the average person who posts a video on, for example, YouTube gets 3 views, but I don't have millions and millions of views a day. So what I'm an expert on is just the spoken part, not how to edit things and be glitzy to get huge audiences. I do know that out of my 2 million students who are my online students on the Udemy platform alone, my guess is, 10,000 or so have posted videos on TikTok, but I don't know who has done what and if any of them have reached that upper echelon of millions and millions of views and virality. But I do appreciate your question. Okay, so Miss Lisa says, who are you talking to? I'm looking at 2 different cameras. So the camera I'm looking at here, which to those of you on TikTok appears like, who is he talking to? I'm talking to the audience watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitch, Instagram, and I may have missed 1 or 2. We're broadcasting on about 7 platforms through our main channel in our studio. At the very same time, I am talking to you on TikTok through my cell phone. The cell phone is about 5 inches away from the camera. So that's why I can't, for logistical reasons, get them closer. So that's why it appears that I'm talking to people. If you join me in the first hour, or the first beginning of this hour, which just started 18 minutes ago, what I did there is I'm sort of taking you behind the scenes and showing you what I do as a communication skills expert and as a content creator. So I was making a rough draft, the raw footage of a long form video based on a question provided by ChatGPT. Now, my friend Jasmine is with us, says, hi, TJ. Jasmine is involved with, I believe it's a startup that helps content creators distribute their content using artificial intelligence throughout social media. Jasmine, if you wanted to speak with us live today, it's definitely a subject I'm fascinated with. A lot of people in the audience are fascinated with that. We posted a link right above you, the StreamYard link. If you want to click on that, happy to have you come on and talk about your product and even give a demonstration. We're a little bit different here on the TJ Walker Success Channel. Most channels, most Facebook groups, pages say, no promotion, no promotion. Actually, I want you to promote. What we're doing here on this channel is trying to give you the tools, the expertise, and the confidence to promote whatever it is you do by speaking. Now, I don't want to see 89 text messages and links to Bitcoin or something like that. But if you're willing to speak about something that you're promoting, I would love to hear you. So Jasmine, we can talk about this later, but if you did want to come on, then I'm happy to have you and any of your colleagues just join me right here on the stream today, and we can have a conversation about your product, which helps people share their spoken words, their messages across social media and reach larger audiences. Fame and Poor writes, hi, TJ. Who's your favorite speaker in the tech space? Okay. There are, in fact, a lot of good speakers in the technology space. I'm going to toss out one answer that's going to make your heads make you scratch your head. I don't see him speak very often. He's not perceived as a good speaker. He's not perceived as charismatic. But believe it or not, Bill Gates occasionally gives fantastic presentations. One speech he gave, I think it was a TED Talk, where he pulled the cover off of mosquitoes and unleashed them in the room to get people's attention about the problem of malaria. It was a fantastic visual that really put people on edge. It was not in any way endangering people because those mosquitoes did not have malaria. So he's really evolved, and it's to me a fantastic example of why speaking is so good. There's some as a skill to learn because you can learn it at any point in your life. Because let's face it, there are very few 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds who say, you know what, I've never played basketball. Let me pick up a basketball and get really good at it and become a professional basketball player. To my knowledge, that's never happened at somebody age 30, certainly at age 40. Same with being a world-class violinist. You can't typically just say at age 35, I want to be a world-class violinist and practice hard. It's something that takes so many years of practice from an early age. Speaking isn't like that. There are tons and tons of people who were horrible speakers into middle age and then learned how to speak. I think Bill Gates is one of those. John F. Kennedy, many people think of him as a great speaker and a great orator. I was not old. I was alive when he was born, just a few months old before he was assassinated, but I have no recollection of seeing him in real time. But I do know people who were active in New York City political circles in the late 50s who told me that Kennedy would come as a young congressman, kind of shy, meek, quiet, come in to speak to them to raise money. He would have his head down. You just see a lot more hair than this, obviously. You'd see this thick thatch of hair, and he would read nervously. Even as president, some people would say, if you stood behind him, you could see his hands shake a little, his knees shake. And yet he went on in history to be seen as one of the great orators. So you can learn at any point. Now, you've asked me specifically about the technology space. I don't want to seem like I'm being evasive. Not a very creative answer or original answer, but Steve Jobs, obviously, because he gave so many fantastic speeches, technology speeches, talking about his products, whether it was unveiling the iPod, the iPhone, the iMac. All of them were done in ways that were creative, memorable, because he consistently used examples. He made it real. He did not get lost in the data. When he was unveiling the iPod, he didn't talk about, all the gigahertz and megabytes and gigabytes and blah, 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 and thickness that. He's like, imagine 1,000 songs in your pocket that you can access anytime you want. He lets you instantly understand the benefits. Great speakers talk about benefits. They don't simply give more and more facts, more and more data points, more and more details. When he unveiled the iPhone, he said, why are we here today? Well, you know what this is? And he put up a picture of an iPod. He said, you know what this is? And he put up a picture of a traditional cell phone. Why are we here? The two images came together on one slide, and people could instantly understand, it's something that holds all my music and the internet, and I can make a phone call on it. It made it instantly understandable. And when he unveiled his iMac, the really super slim, thin laptops, he didn't get up and point to a slide that had 18 bullet points on the width and the thickness and the comparison of weights to other computers, his other competitors. He didn't talk about the processing speed. He said, this is the lightest computer in the world. How thin is it? He walked over to a table, picked up an envelope, and said, it's this thin. And he pulled the laptop out of an envelope. And people, and that was almost 20 years ago. I can now see it in my mind. That is the mark of a good speaker. It doesn't matter if you're in technology, politics, energy, aviation. It doesn't really matter. If you can use your words, to put pictures in people's minds so they can visualize what you're doing and what you're creating, what you're making, how you're trying to help them. That is the ultimate power of a speaker. So it's hard to think of anyone who's extraordinarily well known, who's had a huge impact, who has a better reputation than Steve Jobs as a communicator. And just the other day, recently as last week, I saw someone asking Bill Gates, why did Steve Jobs do so well with his speeches? And he said, because he rehearsed constantly. He was known for taking off an entire week and doing rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal before a major product launch. Now, he's not one of my clients. I can't take credit for him. I do work with a number of technology CEOs of major companies, publicly traded companies. And they're like you, they're like anyone else. They think of themselves as not naturally gifted at speaking. It's a learned skill. It's something you can do if you put in the work, put in the effort, put in the rehearsal, and learn basic skills. Fahim says, I agree. I'm assuming you agree on Steve Jobs. Let me know who you like. I mean, there are a lot of good speakers in the world. And if you're with a smaller company and your product isn't in every single person's pocket, you can be a great speaker and most people might not have come across you. Most people might not have seen you. So there are a lot of good speakers in the tech world. Elon Musk, surprisingly, every time I see him, because he's so talked about, he is interesting and fascinating to a lot of people. He certainly has his fingers in a lot of pies. And he's obviously got to be incredibly compelling in a boardroom when he's asking investors to give him billions of dollars for a new venture, because he's done a better job of that than anyone in the world. But if you see him on a big stage, he's not particularly impressive. He tends to speak quickly. He tends to put a lot of verbal tics in. The ums and the uhs really come out. And he looks nervous. Now, I know some of you love Elon Musk so much. Don't start a hate war here. I'm not attacking him. That's something for another issue, another channel, another day. But I'm saying purely as a communicator to larger audiences, I think that Steve Jobs was a lot better. I think that Bill Gates is better most of the time, not all the times. Some of you may remember when Bill Gates was under investigation by the United States government for the whole issue of dominating the market too much. He was in a deposition and he was hunched over, testifying, weaving like this. And it was profoundly, he looked like a little boy who was scared, called into the principal's office. And that is the problem with body language. If it's so extreme, that's the only thing anyone remembers. I'm not one of these people who says, oh, body language, that's 94% of what you communicate. No, but when your body language is so powerfully communicating something that's interesting to people, that makes you look scared, nervous, uncomfortable, then it really does dominate. Because I don't know anyone who remembers what Bill Gates said in that deposition, but a lot of people remember him rocking in that chair, hunched over, and just looking awful. Jasmine says she remembers that. Okay. And Jasmine also says Steve Jobs' ability to articulate his vision and connecting with his audience was truly those skills were truly memorable and remarkable. You're absolutely right, Jasmine. Fahim says Elon Musk is not the most eloquent speaker. It's not his forte. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think his forte is he sees a really huge problem. He comes up with some technology elegant solution. And he is great at coming up with creative financing to get people to work on it and to get people talking about it and to attract people's attention. Interestingly about Musk is, while he's not the greatest conventional keynote speaker or presenter, We live in a modern world that gives so much value to attention. And arguably, there's no one better at capturing attention than Elon Musk today. And there are many, many reasons why people have very positive views and extraordinarily negative views about Elon Musk, especially as he has become more overtly political in so many of his opinions and tweets these days. We're not going to get into that on this channel. But I do think it's fascinating to see how you don't have to be a good speaker necessarily to capture lots of attention in the modern media world, especially the modern social media world. Baum says Elon's Twitter account is going through the roof now, very controversial. So the easiest way to get attention anytime is to attack someone, because that's the essence of controversy. When you're attacking someone else, saying someone else is awful, stupid, weird, ugly, it does get attention. Am I saying you should run around attacking people all the time? No. What we're about right here on the TJ Walker Success Channel is helping you become more successful in life as you want to be, as you define your success, and using communication skills to help you do that. If you're trying to bring your community together, let's say you're running for a local city council commission because you really want more parks, you're going to have to build bridges. You're going to have to create alliances. You're going to have to convince people to vote for you, to volunteer for you, to donate for you. And just attacking people all the time typically is not going to attract people in a positive way to you. So again, this channel is not about politics, although I'm fascinated by politics, and for many years of my life worked full time as an advisor to politicians around the world, and do occasionally still do media training and public speaking training with politicians. But that's not what we're talking about here. I want to say hello to so many folks who've joined us on TikTok. Thank you for doing that. Elgin says, encourage more viewers to share. Well, I would definitely appreciate if you could share. And more folks are coming in. We've had more than 100 joining us on TikTok today, and a lot more people on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter and Twitch. So I want to say hello and thank you to all of you. If you have a question about communication skills, all you have to do is post it in the comments, and I will see it and I will read it, and I'll do my best to answer it in real time. I might have missed your question if you posted on TikTok, because I'm doing that on a phone 3 feet away from me and it's harder to see. If you want to guarantee that I will see your question, come on over to my YouTube channel. All you have to do is go to youtube.com, type in TJ Walker Success. You will see our live stream. In the stream, it has the link to hit where you can come on and share the screen with me, or you can simply post your comments, your questions in the comments section, and I will see those. So in a moment, what I'm going to do is make a short form video and a long form video. I'm going to go over here and gather information from artificial intelligence. So I take questions from you directly. Some of you have emailed me a bunch of questions in the last week, which I'll be answering in the next hour. And sometimes I take questions culled from throughout the internet, courtesy of ChatGPT. So that's one of those times right now. And you know what? I forgot to put my hard drive in to save that. So I have to walk to the back of my studio. Forgive me for that. Pull out my hard drive and come back in. This is a very, it looks small and tiny. This is a SanDisk 2 terabyte drive. So I put this into my mixer, and I really need to do two hands with this. I'm putting it into the back of my mixer. So when I record something that I want my editors to turn into a short form, an edited, slick, nicely packaged short form video. Whoops, I've done something. There we go. I accidentally got off TikTok for a second. Sorry about that. So I put the hard drive in. So when I'm recording a video, it's recording it in 4K, the highest quality of video, so that when it's put on in the final form on YouTube and other social media, people see the higher quality. How much of a difference it makes, I don't really know, but many of the top YouTubers do it, top TikTokers do it. In general, the better the quality, the more people tend to like it. So that's the dominant thought there. And I am interested in any other technology speakers you really like. I do want to steer away from the controversy of certain posts, text posts, because again, it's easy to get attention in a place like Twitter if you just post things saying somebody I like is worse than the most evil dictator in the world and in the history of the world. If you keep posting that, yeah, you'll get attention, and people who also hate that person will like you and retweet it, even if they don't read the whole thing. That's a separate issue of how do you get the most attention on social media. Our focus here is really about how can you speak in a way that is the best possible way that you want to come across, and how can you have confidence in that? Okay, in our remaining time for this session, I want to do a short form video. I opened with talking about how to end a speech too abruptly. I did a long on that. I'm going to do a short form on that right now. And our friends on TikTok won't see this, but I'm going to go to camera 2. It's a completely different camera angle for when I am recording these in my studio. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to hit record. How do you solve the problem of too abruptly ending your presentation? We've all seen it. Someone's going along, going through the data, all of a sudden, that's it. Any questions? And they act like they want to run away. Don't do that. Finish all your main points, but then pause for a second, give a nice summary sentence. Really sum it up again, using different words, not apologizing for repeating, but sum it up, then stop, pause. Now you can ask for questions. Okay, so that's a short form version. Oh boy, it just occurred to me. When I did my initial long form today, I forgot to hit the 4K record, and I know that I want that one. So I'm going to have to make a note when this is done to my editors to pull from the StreamYard version, which is the high definition version, but it's not as high as 4K. Now, some of you may be saying, what's he talking about? 4K, high def, all this. I thought this was about communication. Fortunately or unfortunately, there's simply no way of communicating to a lot of people these days without knowing the technology. I don't consider myself a techie, and I'm on the slower side of learning technology. But if you want to speak to people beyond your family members or your best friend, you have to use technology. You know, when the phones first came out, that was crazy, wild technology. People didn't know how to pick it up or dial. Now everyone uses a phone. I'm old enough to remember when voicemail and answering machines came out, and it was like, hello, this is weird. And then all of a sudden, everyone did it. And now we've swung back where no one leaves voicemail anymore. So if you want to communicate, you do have to speak to people using technology. So right now, I'm using a lot of different technology in the form of 3 different cameras, and internet, and a mixer, and a computer, and StreamYard applications, and a shotgun mic, and different lights. There's so many aspects of things that have to take place. And when I'm doing these live shows, there's a real learning curve, and I'm still in that process because I'm trying to have a conversation with one person, you. But these days, I'm also dividing because I'm trying to talk to my friends on TikTok, and very much appreciate you joining us. I have to be aware of my computer in front of me. I have to be aware of comments coming in. I have to occasionally glance down and look at the private chat. my mixer is right here. So I have to, this is camera one, which is blacking out for 1 second for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Well, more than 1 second. Here's camera two, which is working, the side shot. And then here's camera three, sort of the close-up shot when I'm at the computer. So there are a lot of different things going on that in the traditional media land of the last 100 years, you'd have 20 people doing that. You'd have camera operators, sound technicians, studio technicians. I had to run around and make sure all these accent lights were on earlier. Now, I say this not to sound like, oh, look how talented or impressive I am. I believe anybody can do this. It simply requires putting some time in, telling yourself, okay, I can learn this. Might not get it right the first time. I've made mistakes here. I've made mistakes today. And I'm going to continue to make mistakes. But if you want to communicate with more people, if you have a message to share, if you have expertise to share, if you're an entertainer and you want to make more people laugh, you have to learn the technology. The days are gone where you can simply be an interesting person and a major TV network or a major radio network says, hey, you're so fantastic. We're going to send a limo to get you, bring you into the studio. All you have to do is open your mouth. There was a time when a lucky few people had that happen. Those days are gone. So you've got to learn these other skills. If you say to yourself, well, I'm not a techie, that's a one-way ticket to obscurity. Hey, I want to thank you so much. Make a note. I'm going to be back here in about 1 hour. We take a break here now, and I'm going live just to my Udemy students on my Udemy Facebook page. I've got about 2 million students who take my courses on the Udemy platform, and we have an exclusive session just for them at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time, which is in 1 hour and 2 minutes. I'll be back here live doing more demonstrations, short form video, long form video, most important, answering your questions. And if you want to come on screen and join me, you can do that as well. Thanks so much. I'll see you in about an hour if you can join me. And thanks so much, TikTok. Appreciate it. Nope, that didn't end yet. Sorry.